Hello, everybody, to a new Boca in English episode. My name is Facundo Zalazar here once again with Rodrigo Arzumendi. How are you, Rodri?
I'm doing well, man. Just Boca is finally in our lives this weekend. The wait is over. I think that we kind of needed a little bit of a break, after the Club World Cup. It was just too much of a high and then like too much of a disappointment against Auckland City. So I think it was good to have a couple of weeks off to just, cool down, reflect. But now the juices are flowing already, and we have the game on Sunday, and obviously we have a big thing to talk about. So I'm excited.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I kind of I stopped paying attention to Twitter and all the news for a little bit. Kind of just relax, enjoy, watch the rest of the games in the Club World Cup, which has been fantastic, in my opinion. But yeah, now we're back with a huge news. So yesterday, Leandro Paredes became a Boca Juniors player after a bunch of years in Europe, having a fantastic career playing with teams with like PSG, Rome, Zenit, great teams all around the world. He decided to come back at 31 years old, one one World Cup champion medal, two Copa America medals, and he's back to his club, right? So it was a lot of talking about him coming to Boca for the last 6 months, probably a little bit more. I personally thought that he was not going to come back before the FIFA World Cup next year.
Yeah.
Why do I say that? Because I feel like sometimes the players in Europe have more chances of actually making it to the World Cup. Also coming to Boca, and we know how the press is always criticizing Boca players a little more than other teams. I
Yeah.
thought that he was not going to put himself in that situation to be criticized week after week. I know that being a Boca player is has to be a Boca player 24/7. If you're not, fans are going to start mumbling. The press is going to start mumbling.
Yeah.
So it's great to be back, for him, for us. But I was shocked. So props to him. Decided to come back. Props to the president and the Consejo de Football to actually be able to sign him. I know
Yeah.
it was a little delayed and people kind of were a little bit frustrated with how it took maybe 1 to 10 more days, 1 week to 10 more days more than expected.
Yeah.
But in the end, he got here before the first game, something that we talked about it last week. We thought it was going to be delayed. So I take
Yeah.
it. So already, if you want to chat about the terms, all yours.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And I also thought that it was more likely that he would come back after the World Cup, especially because he had a year left of in his contract with Roma. So, it felt natural to just kind of like for him to like complete his contract in Italy and then come back after the World Cup. But in when they went to try to get him at the beginning of the year, and even though it was unsuccessful, Paredes put a clause in his contract saying that he had a clause specifically uh, for Boca, where like they could buy him out of his contract for 3.5 million, and then obviously the terms of his actual salary needed to be negotiated. So apparently we don't have like all the details, but apparently Boca paid a little less than the 3.5 million, and then they're gonna pay him basically what he was making in Roma, which again we don't have the details, but he's probably gonna be the highest paid player with the team, and I think it makes sense. He's 31 years old. He's in I would call it his late prime. He's very much gonna become a top three player, maybe the best player in Argentinian football, and we can unpack that a little more. But it's a huge move for him, and for me, it was like I was just kind of starting to get tired of this whole back and forth. Is he coming? Is he not coming? So when he was very close in January and he ended up not coming, my viewpoint was like, listen, man, if you don't come, in the middle of the year, like right now, basically, June, July, just don't come at all. I don't want you to come back when you're 33 and you're just like have no other offers in Europe and you're just coming back to basically just kind of like a nice farewell, retirement, kind of like Ander Herrera is like doing right now. I'm like, if you're gonna come back, just come back. We'll pay you whatever you want, but just come back, in your prime and kind of lead us back to glory, and he did it. So I'm very thankful to him. I'm very excited. I'm not ready to just kind of like celebrate him and call him an idol because he's done absolutely nothing with the Boca jersey. He played very little in his first stint, but I am very thankful, and I appreciate him just kind of going down into the mud, and this just kind of crappy like just team that we have right now. So I'm very thankful that he's back.
Yeah, it looks like to me that he was going to sign in this transfer market, but it looks like he was waiting to go on vacation with his family.
Yeah.
We talk about it. We kind of criticize him a little bit to be able to like go on vacation and not play in the World Cup with Boca, something that is probably going to be, we don't know if we're going to qualify to the next one. So people were like, if you're going to come, why are you going to come after? But again, if you look back in the last 3-4 years, he haven't had a vacation with his family, a proper vacation during the summertime, because they do get some time off during the winter for Europe. So maybe he was like, you know what, I'm going to go on vacation, and then when I come back, I'm going to sign. Because if I sign before the World Cup, people are going to be like, why are you not playing?
Yeah.
So now with the Mondays newspaper, how it's in Argentina, it makes sense. It makes sense like he signed now, he's back, he started training now. Again, he's not going to play on Sunday, but he will play on Friday, next Friday against Union. So that's going to be what? 10 days from today? And they were talking about it. They were talking about how he's going to be playing next, so let's say in 8 days. So he has a good week to get back in shape. If he's not, those kind of players at that age, they're still very much in shape.
Of course.
So based on what we read, apparently Marcos Rojo left the number 6. So Bataglia would take number 6 and Paredes would take number 5.
Yes.
I'm a little surprised. I thought it was going to take number 10, but again, you have Cavani with number 10.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that he's going to take number 5. He never used number 5 for Boca, I believe. I think he had 20 and 32. I think he had, but yeah, he's back. So another player that come back to Boca in, let's say, a good shape, like at 7 out of 10 or 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
So if we want to talk about it, the best returns I remember for Boca were probably like Juan Román Riquelme in 2007.
Yeah.
And then Carlos Tevez in 2015. Do you think that he's going to show us the difference between Europe and South America, or he might not be able to do that?
I have no idea, to be honest with you. I very much want him to, and I think that he's at least his first year leading into the 2026 World Cup, I think he's gonna be on his best behavior. He's gonna be in shape. He's gonna and he's gonna be obviously trying to prove himself and prove himself to the fans, and especially because like over the next 12 months, it's basically the Clausura, we have like the rest of Copa Argentina. Hopefully he gets us into Libertadores, and then we start next year with the group phase of Libertadores and the Apertura. Obviously he's not going to be able to win Libertadores in the next 12 months because we're not in this one, and the next one won't be done by then. I think that he's gonna really try to make the team better. I think he's gonna be pretty awesome, but just it's hard to know. Sometimes you get a return like Riquelme in 2007, where he basically just destroyed everyone in his path, and then you have some like Tevez, where like he played pretty well, when he came back, and then he for like the first 6 months, and then he had a bit of a lull the next year. He just kind of like after like the break, so it's hard to know. Palermo, when he came back, he sucked. I don't know if you remember. It took him like 6 months, and then after that, he just destroyed everyone in his path. So it's hard to know. I'm very excited. I'm very hopeful that it'll be just a magical run. But to be honest, I don't know. What do you think?
If you had to analyze the way he plays, right? Most of the times when they talk about people coming back to Argentina, the first thing that everybody says is like, is he going to adapt to the friction, right?
Yeah.
Is he going to adapt to people challenge him or like bumping into him?
The physicality,
the physicality that South American tournaments have.
Yeah.
But if you analyze the way he plays, he does that in every single. Let's be real, we never watch Roma game, so we're not happy doing in Roma.
Yeah.
But we do watch him playing for Argentina. So every time he comes to South America and plays against a South American team, he does the friction. he does the physicality. He's always fighting. So maybe if I'm dreaming, right, he coming back will not be as bad when it comes to the physical part because he is used to that. He likes that. He likes, going on slide tackling and like bumping into people. Also, he's a fantastic player with his feet. So if his feet are okay and he still wants to have that fight that he shows us every time he plays with Argentina, he could adapt very fast. However, in Argentina, he plays with his best friends. So when you play with your best friends, it's not the same as you play with strangers.
Yeah.
For now, we don't know how his relationship is with any Boca players. So until he adapts himself to the team, we will see. One of the things that the rest of the team should take advantage of is like Paredes is going to be the target for 12 months until the World Cup, right? Because he has to prove himself that he's fit to play another World Cup for Argentina. Yeah. So the other teammates, Velasco, Zenon, or whoever, they know that they have no pressure. Like Velasco, no one's going to be talking about Velasco anymore. Back in the day, the people were talking about him at his 10 million, fee. Now people are going to talk about Paredes. If Boca doesn't win, they're going to look at Paredes. No Velasco, no Cavani. So the other players need to try to take advantage of that. If you're not in good shape, get back in shape. If you're not doing better, be better, right? Take that pressure off your shoulders and be like, all right, this is my time to shine. So with that being said, let's talk about the system. What do you think is the best system for him to play? I have my opinion, but go for it. I'll listen to you, and then
I was thinking the way I would like Boca to play with Paredes would be with him as the kind of like in a 4-3-3 as like the number 5. I think in English they call it the number 6. The guy in the middle of the 3 midfielders, and with 2 people on kind of like to his sides. I would probably pick Alarcón on the right and Zenon on the left, and then I would have Velasco just kind of like free flowing, in front of them, and then Merentiel up top. And I think this system is contingent on us getting a right winger. We can talk later about like the remaining of the transfer window. There's rumors of this Colombian guy, very spicy, like right winger. If we are able to get a player like that, I think that system would just shine with Paredes, because Paredes, in the national team plays, 4-3-3 for the most part, and Paredes usually plays in the middle. So I think that would be the ideal. I just don't think we have the right players, and I definitely don't think that Russo's going to play like that. So I don't know. What do you think? So it's the best, and what do you think is going to happen?
So the formation that says is great. I understand the 4-3-3, but if you think about it, in the national team, he's the number 5, but he also rotates a lot with McAllister and Enzo Fernandez.
Yeah.
I don't think that Zenon and maybe Alarcón, yes, but Zenon doesn't have that movement inside the pitch. So if I had to guess, what I would do, maybe to start off, and what I think that Russo might do, is a 4-2-3-1.
Yeah.
And why do I say that? Because I feel like if you let's talk about the middle. If you put Bataglia and Paredes as number 5s, Bataglia would take the role of more defensively, and Paredes could be kind of grabbing the ball from Bataglia, right? Like stealing from him and then going forward. And then if you think about it, then you have 2 on the right, could be or Zenon, or Alarcón, or Palacios, right? Or Velasco, whatever. And then somebody in the middle would be Palacios or Velasco.
Yeah.
And then lately been working as just a number 9. Like I would put Merentiel on top and play like that. So kind of like, if you think about it, you have a defensive mid, which is Bataglia, that he's been doing great. He can recover the ball easily, let's quote easily, like he can recover the ball. And then you have Paredes, Zenon, Palacios, y Velascos that have good feet. They can connect. So you have 4 players that can actually move the ball around.
Yeah.
And then don't forget that Paredes has a very good long ball.
Yeah.
So you can also, use the corner to say that if the middle is congested, boom, long balls to Palacio, Velascos, or Zenon. And then you have Merentiel there doing the dirty work. And lately, Merentiel has been playing very well when he plays alone. If you look
Yes.
at it, every time they put a number nine, he has to drop, he has to get out of the box.
Yeah.
It's like typical that, oh, now I had to do other people's work
Yeah.
because Milton Jimenez cannot do it and Cavani cannot do it.
Yeah.
They show us that they just want to be the number nine that doesn't move and just wait for the crosses.
Yeah.
In a team that you want to win, you cannot play like that. You had to have players in the middle that move a lot. So
Yeah.
if I had to guess, what I would do, me sitting on my couch, I would do the 4-2-3-1, right?
Yeah.
I think that would be a great formation if Boca can actually implement that.
Yeah, and I think and again, later we'll get onto a little bit of the game on Sunday and what it looks like the team that Russo is going to be playing, and I think it's going to be very close to what you're saying. So I think we're going to get to see your theory in action. I'm not quite sure. I agree, like you said, where like those players that like Velasco, Palacios, and whoever the third guy is might be Zenon, they're gonna be rotating. I just don't think that like other than maybe Zenon, like none of them are good on the wings. They're all just better, playing, up the middle. And like I think that eventually we're gonna have to pick between Velasco and Palacios. But for that, we need to get another winger because if we don't, then we might just have to play those guys because it's kind of like the best we have because the next step down is the Hanson and Brian Aguirre and Ceballos, and we're kind of over those guys. So I think we're gonna get to see your theory and because like it looks like Velasco's gonna start, Palacios is gonna start. Zenon, it's not confirmed yet, so we'll see. But I think we're going to end up seeing a team very similar to what we saw against Benfica. And that was a classical 4-2-3-1.
I don't see that. I don't see Russo taking Bataglia out.
No, I mean, like I was just since we don't have like a real number two in the back, I could see Bataglia going back there to add another like guy that can keep you kind of like a clean, just build up from the back. But most likely it's gonna be Bataglia and Paredes. I would like to see Milton Delgado again, so that's why I wouldn't mind playing Bataglia in the back because I would like to have Bataglia still in the 11, but then have Milton next to Paredes because I think that Milton would like actually free Paredes from most of like the defending and the running, and Milton can get you the ball cleanly and in a good position, and then from there, Paredes can create.
Yeah, that's a position that Bataglia and Milton can do. The Delgado has been struggling, I think, the last few games. That every time he grabs the ball, no one comes to grab it from him.
Yeah.
So he makes those 5 to 10 meters runs where he tried to go forward and tried to pass the ball, and he fails that a lot.
Yeah.
His job is to grab the ball and get rid of it as quickly as possible. His job is not to grab the ball and actually go forward and try to like start a play. So if Bataglia and Delgado, let's say, can do that job and give the ball to Paredes, that's it. Have Paredes do the rest of it. Yeah. So that's why I think that Delgado kind of lost his positioning inside the starting 11 because he was not doing that. And Bataglia did a little bit during the World Cup, helped out a little bit, a little bit bigger, more physical. That's why I think that Delgado didn't play against those big
more
teams.
Experienced.
But yeah, I think we could have a good, solid 11. The problem comes that we don't have any good subs. If you think about it, if something happened, you maybe have Alarcón, and then Cavani and Milton Jimenez dropped a ton of the level. In the middle, you don't have anybody to replace anybody in the middle besides Alarcón.
Yeah, I have Belmonte right? There. Like he can do a decent job, but like it's
Belmonte was doing a decent job. I completely forgot about him. Belmonte could be another number 5 or number 8, but that's if you put Belmonte, it just become too defensive, right?
I mean, it would like I think the way it works is that you have the Paredes and his type, which I think probably Ander Herrera would be his sub, right? In the way they play. If you go back to, I think again the Benfica game is very important because I think that's kind of like the blueprint of the way Russo wants to play. So if we take that game as the blueprint, then Paredes will play in that position where Ander Herrera played for like 20 minutes until he got injured, and then you have like a more like defensive mid, which in that case was Bataglia, which I think it's going to be Bataglia. So I think it's like you have like Paredes, and then Ander will be his sub, and then you have Bataglia, and then like we have, I think right now it's Belmonte behind Bataglia, and then like Milton Delgado is like behind him. So Milton Delgado is like, it's kind of relegated right now. But obviously with Ander Herrera, we just never know. So like sometimes it might end up being like Bataglia would have to be kind of like more the creative mid, kind of what happened in the World Cup once Herrera went out. And then you can play Bataglia with someone like Belmonte or Delgado. And I don't love that, but we don't have anything else. So
no, of course. That's, since we're talking about subs, right? But I think if we can play those 7 players in the middle and on top, I think we should have a solid way of actually becoming the team that we want, right?
Yeah.
But we'll see. Since we're talking about that, the extended window got extended. Well, the transfer window got extended until July 24. We talked a little bit about what we need, but what do you think exactly? If you have $5 million today, what position would you like bring?
I think there's 2 big glaring positions that we need to, but like if I had to like just pick one, it would be someone like on the right wing. I would pick someone like that, and because we need I don't know, man, we need someone that is able to play within a system, but also being able to just kind of break out of the system and create something out of nothing. I think the best example in recent times in Boca was Sebastián Villa. Like he was the one that where nothing else worked. He was a system, within himself. He created stuff. So we would need someone. Honestly, I would take one on either wing, to be honest with you. I think on the right will be more, because I think we can then play Zenon on the left. I think Zenon plays better on the left and on the right. So I think that would be one. There was rumors about this Colombian guy called Marino Inestrosa. He plays for Atlético Nacional de Medellín in Colombia. Apparently they're asking for too much money, but there's also like a negotiation with Boca, because Boca loaned them Campuzano, and it sounds like we're gonna sell him to them for like something like 1.7 million. So that money could go towards kind of like buying.
Campuzano is a key player for Independiente.
Yes.
Independiente, no, for Atlético Medellín.
Atlético Nacional.
Key player. Yeah, key player. I saw them play a little bit, and Campuzano is one of their leaders. Yeah. So if we really have that in our advantage, we should definitely use it.
Yeah. So and then there haven't honestly been too many rumors in that position, or any transfer rumors recently. But there was something about this guy. I think his name is Lucas Villalba. He plays for Nacional in Uruguay. And then I don't know. There's apparently there's other names that they've been talking about, but like just they're kind of under wraps. So that would be my one. And then like the other, I would try to sign like a number 2, like a center back, like a right-footed center back, because right now Figal looks like he's gonna be the starter, and I absolutely hate that. I think that is a glaring like weak link in the starting 11. Like Figal absolutely sucks. And then like Di Lolo, who is different because he's just not that good with the ball, but he's stronger actually doing like the kind of the defending part of being a defender. He's really good in like headers and stuff like that. Like honestly, I would, if I had to pick between Figal and Di Lolo, I would play Di Lolo. Like just honestly, if I had to pick between those two, I'll play Bataglia. But like if I had to choose between Figal and Di Lolo, I'll play Di Lolo, because he's younger. We can maybe sell him at the end of the year, maybe some team from Italy where he would fit great. We'll pay like 8 million for him, and we can just kind of sell him and be like, go enjoy, and then we can use that money to like go buy a good one. But I just can't see Figal anymore. Like he proved me right against Benfica game. He didn't have a bad game, right? He was playing okay. But then he just had to do something stupid, and that is the story of Figal. He can look okay for a little while, but eventually he's gonna do something dumb.
Yeah, he came out there on Instagram and apologized and blah blah. But I feel
I'm tired of apologies, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I feel like, dude, you are not the Lolo. You're not 20. You're not 21. Like you are about 32. You've been in this situation before. You probably apologized before. It's just like, dude, come on. Like you're just doing it because your PR team told you to do it, not because you actually care. But yeah, we'll see. So with that being said, is anybody leaving the team?
That's a great question. Right now, no. I mean, like it's funny because like Russo is doing this thing where like he's having like some like 10 to 12 players train. If the team is training in the afternoon, they'll have these guys train separately in the morning. But it's kind of a mixed bag, right? Because there's some players kind of recovering from injury. You have Ayrton Costa, you have Ander Herrera, you have Milton Jimenez in that list, and then you have like the people that seem to be blacklisted, and that's like Marcos Rojo, Cristian Lema.
Romero,
There's like
Fabra.
yeah, actually, I think Fabra is actually training with the team for some reason. I don't know why. But like, and then we have a couple of like youngsters like Santiago Dalmaso, Joaquin Ruiz. You have Rolon, who's been just kind of hanging out, around the grounds for like, 7 months already in 2025, not doing absolutely nothing other than cashing checks. So, we have that situation. So no one's left right now. It sounds like Marcos Rojo, with what you mentioned about him losing the number 6 jersey, I mean, that's a very clear sign that he's just not going to play again. His contract runs out at the end of the year. Same with Fabra, same with Chiquito Romero, same with Javi Garcia. So, if I had to guess, some of those guys might still leave. There's still like plenty of time in the transfer window. And then maybe someone like Cristian Lema, he's kind of negotiating a buyout with Boca. He just wants to be like let out of his contract. And I would just let him out just so I don't have to see his face anymore. But apparently the board is like, no, just bring us an offer. I think Boca paid like 400,000 to in his buyout with Lanús. No, not Lanús. Newells no, I think it was Lanús. So they paid that for him. So like I understand why Boca would want to get maybe that money back, but I
Yeah,
don't know.
Boca
It's
is
just
playing a very dangerous game, right? Because we all know that we have, out of the starters in the FIFA Club World Cup, out of the 10 most expensive players, Merentiel was the only starter, right? So there are 9 players didn't play or didn't start or whatever. So Boca, some of them, like Rojo, Romero, Fabra, and some of them, their contracts expire in December. What Boca is trying to do is buy time to recover some money, right? Because people are asking, just let them go, like resign them, because we don't want them to have the negativity of the long phases at training, because that
yeah, they're
affects the
so
mood of the
toxic.
team. They are toxic. I think that what the board is trying to do is like trying to get some money, right? Recover some money, whatnot. We don't know if it's worth it, but if they don't get any offers or any money, they're probably going to let them practice with the team until the end of the year.
Which is what
My
they should have done
wish,
before. Yeah.
yeah, my wish is hopefully nothing weird happens and they actually go, right? Because I think that the biggest win for Boca from today until the end of the year is if we can get rid of at least 5 of those big contracts.
Yeah.
If we get rid of those 5 big contracts, let's call it by name, Romero, Rojo, Hanson, and Fabra, you have $10 million that
Yeah.
you can use in salary to maybe give it to Merentiel, right? I'm sure that
Yeah.
Merentiel wants a raise. Give it to maybe the youngsters that, hey, I gave you a few hundred thousands and stay with us. Maybe give it to the players that maybe they deserve a little more, right? Or maybe use 1 or 2 millions to bring the guy from Colombia, right?
Yeah.
Incentivize people, right? Compete with Europe. That's what I'm trying to say. Compete. You can pay 1 or 2 million for a big player and compete against Europe. So take those big salaries out. Once Cavani is gone, that's a big salary that we can actually
Yeah.
use. So I think that if Boca can get rid of at least 5 of those big salaries, it's going to be a huge win for next year.
Yeah. No, and obviously, like again, Fabra, Romero, and Lema for sure. And those guys and Marcos Rojo, like those contracts expire at the end of the year. I think it would be absolutely insane for any of their contracts to be renewed. It doesn't. There wouldn't be any reason. They're not playing anymore. They're gone. I think at the end of the year, it would be a good time to sit down with Ander Herrera and be like, Ander, you came, you lived the dream for a little bit. You just can't cut it, my man. So maybe you want to
There's a
stay on.
rumor. Yeah, there's a rumor that says that Russo told him, I don't want you at 100%. I need you at 200% for you to play at least one more minute. Because clearly he failed Russo in the Club World Cup. And I'm sure that Russo did not like that he only played 15 minutes and then he got a record.
Of course, absolutely.
So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, and then obviously at the end of the year, hopefully you can loan out Hanson, you can loan out. I would try to do those right now, even if Boca has to pay their salary. I just kind of want them out of the roster because I think we need to promote a couple of kids from the academy, just to get some fresh blood in there. We like, this is like the least attention we've paid to the academy in a long time. It's basically Delgado and Di Lollo are like the only ones like anywhere near the rotation. Ceballos too, but Ceballos is kind of like, he's a little older now. He's 23, 24, and he's had
Ceballos is my age now, dude.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so yeah, he has a couple kids, just like, just some gray hairs in his head. Yeah. So we need to just kind of like, just make some room for like some younger players. Because like, it's always good. I mean, like those young players, even like in training, they push, the veterans. And then like when they come off the bench, especially when they're in their first couple of games, they're so excited. They're like a ball of energy. And we need that. We always complain about how we look to the bench and there's nothing when we need to like, just overcome a result and do a comeback. Like maybe have some of those kids and just throw them in the pitch and like maybe like that you're not getting anything with if you play Lucas Hanson, right? So like maybe you play Leonel Flores. I mean he's like 18. Just like play a guy like that and like maybe it doesn't work. But if it doesn't work, I would rather still see the kid fail than see like Hanson fail because I know that Hanson's gonna fail and I know the kid has a chance of doing something special. So I don't know. Like again, with the transfer window being extended, I think that kind of like improves the chances of some of these players leaving. I wish that like some more of those guys like Hanson and Martegani would like be kind of like training with the relegated guys, because you need to send them a message that like, hey, listen, man, you're gonna get paid no matter what. You're gonna get your money, right? Because that contract is signed. But we're gonna make your life miserable. You're not gonna play, and you're basically you're gonna ruin the rest of your career. So you should probably just go find a team that wants to play you. Maybe they can pay a little bit of the salary, maybe 20, 30%. We'll pay the rest, obviously, because we have to, and then just go and play and just get the fuck out of my face. Like I don't want to see Hanson anymore. I don't want to see Martegani. I just think they take up space. They take up space in training. They take up space on the bench. They take a space on the roster list for every game where I want to see the kids' names in there, and I don't want to see Martegani anymore because Martegani sucks. So hopefully 100%. We can get some of those guys out and we can bring in some new blood.
Yeah, man, 100%. I agree. So with that being said, for everybody that doesn't know, tomorrow the Torneo Clausura 2025 starts again.
Yeah.
So just to kind of bring and explain to people once again how the Argentinian football works. So there's 30 teams on the first division. So the Clausura is divided in two groups, Group A and Group B. Boca is in Group A. So each group has 15 teams, obviously. And out of those 15 teams, for the first 8 of each group qualify for the next knockout stage, like happened last
the playoffs.
Yeah, the playoffs. So people know there's like 16 games. So you play once against every team from your group. So that will be 14. Then you play once against your rivals, which in our case would be River. And then you play one more team from another group. I don't remember exactly how the other team gets drawn, but that's the logistics. So by the end of the tournament, we're going to be playing 16 games. Before we go into knockout stage, there's something very important about the next 16 games. If we want to qualify for the Copa Libertadores, there's a big
year-long table,
year-long table where the 30 teams, compete in that table, right? They match the whole thing and they put the points. So in that big list, the first 2 teams of that big list, which right now is Central and Argentinos, those 2 teams will be qualifying to the group stage of the Copa Libertadores.
Yes.
And the third team which is Boca right now, qualifies to the pre-rounds of the Copa Libertadores, like we did last time against Alianza Lima that we lost. We will be calling for that phase, let's call it phase 1 and phase 2 before the group stage. So Central had 35, Argentinos and Boca had 33. Also, Platense, who won the Apertura 2025, already qualified. So Platense doesn't count anymore. So let's erase Platense from this annual table. So what happens next? So there's 4 more spots for the group stage of the Copa Libertadores. Like I said, number 1, which is Central right now, Argentinos Juniors, which is number 2, and then you have the winner of the Clausura 2025 and the winner of the Copa Argentina 2025. Obviously, Boca has a chance to actually make, one of those 4 because we still are in the Copa Argentina and the Clausura is starting tomorrow. So on Sunday, we play Argentinos Juniors. Argentinos Juniors will be our first game, an away game. So Argentinos Juniors right now has the same amount of points as us, 33. So if we win, those points still count. So if we win, we go to 36 and we're above them. If we tie, we stay the same because they have more goals than us. And if we lose, they go 3 points ahead of us. So the first game on Sunday for everybody is going to be a huge game, right? Boca they need to start looking into this table more than anything else, because if you qualify for the Libertadores before the Clausura 2025 knockout stage, you go with a different mentality, right? So you are already qualified. It's a weight on your shoulders. You can play those games without knowing that you need to win the tournament. So the next 16 games for Boca, for me, are absolutely crucial. We got no other competitions. We got no Copa Libertadores. We got no Copa Sudamericana. So for me, Sunday's game, it has to be, I want to start calling the first final because it's way early. But we cannot lose against a team like Argentinos.
100%.
I could maybe accept a tie, the first game with a new coach, with new players, blah, blah.
On the road in a top stadium.
Correct. A small stadium. It's against a good team. But I hope that the players are looking at this and they know this and they're actually being like, hey, dude, we need to come out strong on Sunday to make a statement. If Boca wins on Sunday, it will show to the whole league that Boca is here to compete. So that whatever happened in the Club World Cup is in the past. That, we had 2 good games and 1 bad game. That we are more Benfica and less Auckland City. So we need to make a statement on Sunday. So again, we play on the road, tough game. This is where we're at. Rodri, what do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Again, it's kind of sounds extreme to call it a must win, but we definitely have to avoid losing. We also have to take into account that like the number 1 team on the table is Central, and they just brought back Di Maria. They brought Alejo Vélez, and like they're like loading up. I think they're gonna be one of the big, it's just one of the favorites to win the Clausura, and at the very least to just win a bunch of games and earn a bunch of points. So I think the number 1 objective for Boca should be to just like end the regular season in one of those top 2 spots and just secure Copa Libertadores. Like that goes above everything else. Then after that, then you get the weight of your shoulder. You play more freely in the playoffs. Obviously, you have to just keep advancing through Copa Argentina. We have a game, I think, before the end of the month. I think it's going to be on the 23rd, maybe, something like that, where we play Atlético Tucumán. So we have to keep advancing there. We have to keep our options open. We have to qualify to Libertadores some way, either by winning Clausura, winning Copa Argentina, or just being in one of those top 2 spots. So it's very unfortunate that we get to play them first and we get to play them without Paredes. But we're good enough to just not be embarrassed and to get a good result on the road. And it looks like, like we said earlier, that Russo's going to play a team very similar to Benfica, where Figal is going to play on the back, Advíncula and Blanco will be on the wings, Marchesín will be in the in goal, and then it looks like Marco Pellegrino is going to play in place of Ayrton Costa because Costa is injured. He got injured during the Club World Cup and he hasn't been able to recover yet. Hopefully we get him back next week, maybe like for match day 3. Sounds like Bataglia is going to start in the midfield. Sounds like Merentiel and Velasco are going to be starters up top. And it sounds like Palacios will play for some reason. So, and then it looks like between Belmonte and Alarcón and Zenon and Braida, from those 4 players, 2 of them are going to be the remaining 2 starters. So I think it's going to look a lot like you said earlier, where 4-2-3-1, and with the names you mentioned.
Yeah, fantastic. So we're also going to play Central. I was just checking. Central is in Group B, but we're still going to play them. So the 2 teams from Group B that we're going to play is David and Central, which could be great because you face them and you can actually discount some points.
Yeah, if you need to make up points, it's great.
Correct. But also it could be kind of shitty because you're playing against probably the 3 best teams in Group B, right? The top 2. Central are going to compete very well because they brought 2 fantastic players and they have a solid base, like a solid team from last season. So it's going to be a very interesting clausura. I'm very excited. I'm glad that we're playing again on Sunday. I'm excited to see Boca again playing in clausura, but there's no margin error. We had to come out. We cannot lose on Sunday. I could accept a tie, but we need to come out knowing that we need to actually finish first in our group, and actually finish first or second in the annual table. I would personally try to finish first because if you finish first in the annual table, then you compete for another championship. I don't even know how it's called nowadays. But you need to win that table, let's call it. So Rodri, that's pretty much it from my side. I think we talk a lot about what's going on. There's no games, so we gave you guys a lot of information on what's going on. Hope everyone's excited as me and Rodri to be back at watching the games. It's gonna be a great week.
No, I agree. And next time we get to finally talk about a game again. So I'm excited about that.
All right, Rodri, and everybody else, thanks for listening and watching. Until next time.
Bye, guys.